What's going on, everyone? This is Steve Larsen, and you're listening to Sales Funnel Radio.
Welcome to Sales Funnel Radio, where you'll learn marketing strategies to grow your online business using today's best internet sales funnels. And now, here's your host, Steve Larsen.
All right. Hey, I'm in the car. I'm on my phone. I am obsessed with music, so I love sound quality, which is why I usually use like a $200 mic to record my podcast. But hope you guys will forgive me. I actually just went to Russell's this morning. We are lifting together with the crew, and I'm hurting, actually. I'm in a lot of pain. We were doing squats, and I didn't warm up, so I was feeling like all those pops in my hamstrings. That was stupid. Anyway, hey, I hope you guys are doing awesome. I have got just a ton of messages lately, and I want to thank you, but I also want to apologize. I'm like 300 emails behind, like real emails from you, and like 60 Voxes, another 30 Skype messages. People are somehow finding my phone number or calling me. It's like, I appreciate it, but I just physically I'm unable to answer all that stuff right now. But anyway, hey, so Russ and I were talking this morning, and we didn't talk about this, but something popped into my mind, and I remember, so growing up, I did a whole lot of construction. You guys probably didn't know that. I actually worked at Discount Tire for a little while during the the winter months. It's totally freezing. Like we would work like 12 hours a day, no breaks. They'd give us hamburgers for lunch, and we'd grab like. It was like so cold. Oh my gosh, you'd feel it down in your core, you know, like the kind of cold. Because I grew up in Colorado, and it was the kind of cold where, like you breathe and it hurt your lungs to breathe just because the air was so freezing. You know what I'm talking about? And anyway, super crazy, right? And I ended up getting really deathly sick because of it, because our hands would be all greasy. They'd come in, they'd give us this food. It's not like we'd wash our hands, we'd just be, so I'm sure I ate like car grease and oil a couple times, like there's no doubt that I did. And then after that I went and I did construction doing residential swimming pools, and we built a lot of swimming pools for like the Denver Bronco players, right? Pretty cool stuff. Like I got to meet a lot of their players and stuff like that, and we'd go around and we'd build these sweet, just awesome high-end swimming pools. And sometimes I was part of the build crew, and sometimes I was part of the cleaning crew. So I'd come up later on, and we'd do all the pool maintenance on them and stuff like that. And a couple times, was it Moreno? I can't remember his first name, but on the Broncos player Moreno. He almost shot me because I walked into his house, or I walked into his backyard, which is usually what we did. We usually didn't knock, we just did it. And he's like, "What? Oh, bro, I almost shot you," Anyway, kind of funny. And then I worked all I'm saying is, I actually worked at a plastic factory for a while, and we made M16 buttstocks and syringes. It was injection molding. It's really interesting. I did so many construction jobs, and it taught me how to work, taught me how to do, hard stuff that sucked, which is good. You want to know how to do those things. I love what I do, but there are elements of it that are work, stuff that is really, really. See if I can shift. I'm driving my car. I drive a stick shift. Here we go. But if you can't do the crappy parts of business, then you're gonna fail. Because there's crappy parts on every part of it, obviously, good side and bad side. Well, anyways, one day my dad brought me aside, and my dad was an executive at IBM, and he's just a genius, man. He's the man. I'm working on he does extremely well in the financial markets, just personally, and so I'm helping him build a webinar right now. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. But anyway, he brought me aside. This is several years ago, a long time ago, maybe almost 10 now. That's crazy. I'm 28. What? And he brought me aside and he said, "Hey, you know what? Because I was doing all these construction jobs and I was learning how to work, and it was great stuff, and it's good for a teenager, right? And I went on a mission for my church, and I came back, and he was like, okay, here's one of the biggest lessons he's ever taught me besides how to work hard." And he brought me aside and he said, "You know what? If you want to make a lot of money, you have got to stay on the revenue side of business. And I didn't understand what he was saying at first. He's like, do not reside on the cost side of business. I was like, okay, you know, like what are you talking about? And he said, think about it. When you go into work, does your position produce revenue, or is your position a cost to the business? And I was like, interesting. You know, and he's like, anytime that you are standing on the revenue side of business, you're gonna make a lot more money, because that's why sales guys get paid so much money, right? That's why people who do HR and people who do support, that's why they don't get paid a lot of money. They are a cost to keeping the business running. He's like, if you want to keep on, he's like, that's why I've done so well in my career, is because I have stayed on the revenue generating side of business. His job was to go to fly to clients all over the world. He's been to, I mean, I don't even know how many countries. Well over 50. I mean, tons and my dad traveled like crazy growing up. And he'd go out and he'd go to these clients and he'd figure out what they needed to be built, right? And then he would come back and he'd orchestrate the team, and they would build this crazy software solution for these high-end people. Anywhere from, you know, anything from watches to NASA, you know, to the military. I mean, he did a lot of stuff software-wise. Software in your car that you're driving right now, he's touched that stuff. He's created industry standards that's touched all of them. So all I'm saying is, like, he knows what he's talking about on this stuff. Like, take what he's saying and take what I'm saying to you right now as real. And you just think about it, you know, anytime your business, anytime your position, which is why it's so great to be the entrepreneur, you are directly in charge of making money for the company. You know, people are like, it's not fair that guy comes in and he owns it and he makes all this money. He's like, well, he is solely responsible for making your paycheck happen. So yeah, why wouldn't he be, you know? There was a great book that I read. I was just thinking about all this again. How interesting that is, you know, because that's one of my roles for my current job in ClickFunnels. I'm very much on the revenue side of business, and sales funnels and my skill set is very much directly related to the revenue side of all these other people's businesses when they hire me to do their funnels, you know. I'll charge 15, 20 grand for a sales funnel, but I know it'll make them like 10 times that in a year. You know what I mean? It's like dumb, easy decisions on that. And the reason why I can do that is because it's on the revenue side of business. And so just think about that as you go through. Are your activities, what you're doing right now in your day, are your activities keeping you in the revenue side of what you need to be doing in your business to grow it, or are you standing on the cost side? And that stuff started hitting me because I've been doing some extra stuff to just push farther and push harder as I work with Russell, and it's brought more money in, you know, it's brought more value, it's brought more stuff in, and it's cool to see what happens when you start to do that. Whether or not you are an entrepreneur who's solely on your own, you can start thinking about this. Are my activities right now revenue producing, or are they cost producing? Am I actually pulling in money? And it's such an interesting way to look at it. And so there's a great book that I read once. I got to be honest with you. I'm saying this to you, but I cannot remember the name of it. And it was, the whole point of the book though was he was saying, okay, there's really 4 different areas of work that you can go in. This isn't Robert Kiyosaki's, ESBI thing. It was another guy who had 4 different quadrants also. And he was saying that like let's say you want to get a job. Let's say you don't want to be an entrepreneur, right? And I know that's like 99% of the people who listen to this podcast, you guys are all trying to be entrepreneurs. You are entrepreneurs. You're going out, you're changing the world, you're doing great things. So just take this as a grain of salt, just with the lesson. He basically said that if you want security, you will not make a lot of money, right? Unless you become this high-end entrepreneur, eventually you get to this place of great security. If you want to make a lot of money, you have to stay in high-risk job opportunities. You have to stay in these positions where you actually go out and you have to, it ties in exactly what I'm saying. You have to be on the spot where revenue is created. And there were 4 different quadrants, and he was saying, like, look, the places, like, think about a doctor, right? That's more high risk. I mean, you are playing with people's lives. It's no wonder they get paid a lot of money. Society has said, okay, let's let this guy get paid a lot so that he is motivated to know his stuff. You know what I mean? And you think about the sales funnels. 50% of the time on the first launch, they don't work. They're high risk. And then you turn around and we make 3 tweaks to them, and they're actually not high risk at all. They'll turn around and make a buttload of money. It's just figuring out the right model on certain things. But anyway, like, funnels are not high risk though for that reason. And I was just thinking about all this stuff this morning while we were lifting, and I was like, it's so fascinating how true that lesson is that my dad told me like 10 years ago. Stay on the revenue side of business. Do things that are going to bring extra income in. And if you're working somewhere right now and they're not willing to see the money that you're pulling in is, should be worth a raise or whatever, like, second guess what you're doing. Okay, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, that sucks. And so if you can go in and you can create a buttload of extra value, if you can go in and anyway, I think you guys get the idea. But what ended up happening is I was doing just to come full circle, I was doing all these construction jobs, and I was tiling. I was actually steel tying, and we'd get these huge things of rebar. We'd take these machines and we'd bend the rebar, and we'd build these pools inside of these backyards. We actually, kind of cool, I helped maintain and do some of the pool for the singer from One Republic, which is kind of cool. The guy's got a sweet pool, man. It's underground under his house. It's so crazy. But I was a steel tire, and I did that for a long time. And I'd go and I'd clean the pools, and I had a route that I'd go on, and it's the cost side of business. It wasn't directly, I was a service guy. My position didn't really make money. I was just fulfillment for what they were selling, And I remember I was like sick of it, that there was this moment of time, and I was 22. That was 6 years ago. Wow, almost 7. What? It's my birthday coming up. Woohoo! And I remember walking out of the big warehouse where we had all of our stuff, and I was, covered in cement powder and all this stuff, and I was dirty and it was freezing out, and it was a good experience. But I remember, like, it was time for me to go back to college and finish that semester, or pick back up. I was almost done with school at that time, and I remember there was this little piece of tile on the ground. This might sound cheesy, but I remember I picked up this piece of tile, and I realized, I was like, I'm going to take this and I'm going to keep it with me because I want it to remind me to never do a job like this again. Not that it's below me, but just because I want to never have to be in a position where I have to do this again. And there were times in the future during college where I hadn't quite figured out how to make enough money yet, and I went and we're about to start Funnel Fridays. I got to run in. It's in 3 minutes. Instead of taking the construction job, that's when I decided I was going to go try and do real estate, which eventually led me to funnels. Anyway, all I'm saying is decide what position you're going to stay in and then stick to it. And I know a lot of you guys have already done that, but anyway, I just hope that stays motivating to you guys. Stay on the revenue side of business and stay doing only the tasks that are going to bring revenue to what you're doing. Outsource the rest of them. Anyways, guys, I got to run. And if you guys want to, check out Funnel Fridays or Funnel Feast. That's where I do kind of what we do in Funnel Fridays, but more in depth, usually on Saturdays. Check out funnelfeast.com if you want. All right, guys, talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Sales Funnel Radio. Please remember to subscribe and leave feedback. Want to get one of today's best internet sales funnel for free? Go to salesfunnelbroker.com/free funnels to download your pre-built sales funnel today.